Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Of all the things that I talk about either here or on my blog, the two topics that seem to get the most attention and the most interest are relaxed homeschooling and notebooking. So last week on my blog, I decided that I was going to start a series called Relaxed Homeschooling 101, and it's going to be comprised of 3 separate sections. Last week on my blog already, I published a post called What is Relaxed Homeschooling? And I did not make a video on that last week because I actually did do a video called What is Relaxed Homeschooling a few months ago. So if you would like to see that, I will leave a link in the description box below. The second part of the Relaxed Homeschooling 101 series is going to be called Setting the Stage, which is what I'm going to be covering with you today. And then next week, the third and last part of the series is going to be called How to Get Started Relaxed Homeschooling, or something of that nature, because I'm not really sure what the title of that one is yet. So anyway, again, I'm going to be talking about setting the stage for a relaxed homeschool today. Now, when a lot of you hear that, you're probably thinking of the things that you need to do in order to get your house in order for a relaxed homeschool. But that is not actually what I'm going to talk about first. Because the most important part of setting the stage for a relaxed homeschool is preparing your mind for a relaxed homeschool. Because the fact is, if you are still stuck in a school mindset like so many of us are, because that's how most of us were brought up, you are going to still inevitably try to replicate school at home. Even if it's not for everything, you're very likely to find yourself being drawn in to bringing more and more schoolish things back into your homeschool. And what I'm going to tell you is that if you cannot let go of the school model, you are not going to have a very relaxed homeschool. Because if you think about it, the traditional school model is all about rigidity. It's about ringing bells. It's about raising hands to go to the bathroom. It's about assigned seats. It's about arbitrary rules. And those are not the things that you want to have in a relaxed homeschool atmosphere. The thing that you most want to do in a relaxed homeschool is you really want to learn to embrace flexibility. It's okay to have plans for things. It's okay to plan things out. But what you really need to do is you need to learn to go with the flow. You need to learn to look at how your children learn and really integrate that into your school. And again, I really want to say, first things first though, you've got to push that image of what you think education is supposed to look like. If it follows what the schools are doing, you just want to push it to the side. And I strongly suggest that you would read books, and I say this all the time because I really do stand by these authors, John Holt, and also John Taylor Gatto. And I'm going to add today, now John Holt and John Taylor Gatto are really education writers. They're education reformers, but they are both of the opinion that children learn best when they are able to learn things on their own, naturally. So along with that, I highly recommend that you would read some unschooling books. Even if you are not comfortable with the idea of completely unschooling, I totally get it. I know that not everybody wants to do just 100% unschooling. I don't do 100% unschooling anymore for reasons that I talked about in another video. But unschooling books really do, they describe how learning happens in a natural setting. And really, what relaxed homeschooling is, it's a hybrid of eclectic homeschooling and unschooling. That's really what relaxed homeschooling is. So we do bring a lot of those unschooling philosophies into our homes when we are trying to approach school, or I should say learning. I don't even like to use school in this way. When we're trying to approach learning, that's what we're doing. You know, we're bringing a lot of unschooling philosophy in. So I really do encourage you that you read some unschooling books so that you can get a feel for what learning looks like when it's not something that is being assigned to your children, but is something that is just happening in everyday life. And 2 authors of unschooling books that I'm going to recommend to you are, I actually have one of them here, Sandra Dodd's Big Book of Unschooling. Now, she is a radical unschooler, so not all of her ideas may fit in with every one of you. I don't agree with absolutely everything that she says when it comes to things such as discipline and parenting and those sorts of things. But the tidbits of information that she has on learning are phenomenal. And what she really did was she has her own website, and she took her all of her posts. Now I don't know if she's written any since she had this published, but this is her posts all in one nice little book that you can just buy. I got mine on Amazon, and it really opened my eyes to how learning happens when they're not learning, out of a textbook or off of a lecture or off of a PowerPoint. Another unschooling author that I really recommend, and I do have two of her books also, but I didn't have time to search for them on my 4 bookshelves out in the dining room. Pam Laricchia. I have her books, Free to Learn and Free to Live. And I really recommend her books as well, especially Free to Learn, because again, she is just, she wrote about how we need to completely grasp a new paradigm of what learning looks like. So I really recommend that. So when it comes to relaxed homeschooling, again, let go of your schoolish mindset, and I want you to just really start researching. That's what it is as a homeschool parent. We really do need to do a lot of research, and start researching what self-directed, interest-led learning, all of those things look like. And if you're finding that you're really having a hard time letting go of this learning, or if you're finding that your kids are kind of feeling like they're not doing anything because you're not being very strict about structuring, 4 or 5 or 6 hours of assignments for them to do each day, you might even want to consider deschooling, because usually deschooling is done by families who have brought their kids out of school and they just really need to get used to being at home. But the fact is that even if you're homeschooling, if you have a really strict atmosphere of learning, or I should say a very structured atmosphere of learning, you might need to learn, or not to learn, you might need to deschool in that aspect too, just to get used to the idea of finding things to do, or I should say your children need to get used to the idea of finding things to do without having someone telling them what to do all the time. Because when kids are told what to do constantly, it can take a while till they start finding things again. So if you do start deschooling and you find that your kids are walking around saying, I'm bored all the time, it's going to happen. And it's because they have to get used to being able to find things on their own again. So with that being said, now I'm just going to talk a little bit about getting your home ready, or setting the stage in your home for relaxed homeschooling. Now, if you have a schoolroom, I just want you to keep this in mind. How you have your schoolroom designed or decorated or set up, whatever you want to say, how you have that set up is really going to influence what your homeschool looks like. So if you have a schoolroom with little neat desks, now I actually used to have one. We got little school desks at a thrift store. So if you have a schoolroom with neat little desks and a flag in the corner and a chalkboard and maybe some little posters all over the wall, and I've seen some really pretty pictures of some really pretty schoolrooms. And if you are somebody who follows a school at home model, those probably work great for you. But what I'm going to say from experience, because I used to have a little schoolroom like that, they can really impede you wanting to do relaxed homeschooling. Because when you look at a schoolroom like that, it just shouts out to you, school, school, we're at school. And it makes you feel like a school teacher. And so that is how you're going to act. So if you're somebody who's just learning to let go of that, I think that having a schoolroom like that might hold you back a little bit. So if you are really comfortable with that, and if you are able to let go of learning and still keep things that way, that's awesome. But what I really want to encourage you to do, instead of having a room set up in that way, you might want to think about maybe having, instead of a schoolroom, maybe like a learning room, where you might have Instead of all of the desks, you might have a little corner with some pillows, a nice little place for your kids to read. Or instead of having shelves with textbooks on them, you might want to have shelves with other things, such as puzzles or board games, art supplies, living books for your kids to read. Because in that atmosphere, if you fill it up with things that you think your kids might find interesting, or if you know that they're going to find interesting, they're going to be able to move around in there, and they're going to be able to hopefully find things that they're able to do, find things that they're able to be interested in, and in order to help them to learn that way. Now, I do want to say that if you do not have a schoolroom, it's okay, because most relaxed homeschoolers that I have spoken to don't have a schoolroom. And I was saying earlier that I did used to have a schoolroom, and we're not even living in that house anymore. But even when we were there, I stopped using the schoolroom because, again, it really made me feel too strict. So we actually stopped using the schoolroom for school at all. I think we moved most of it to the dining room or living room then, because it felt more homey at that time. And I think that we just put other stuff out there in the schoolroom and didn't even use it. I think we had the blackboard out there, so if we ever needed to do math or something, we might have gone out there. But yeah, if you don't have a schoolroom, it is totally okay, because most relaxed homeschoolers, and not even just relaxed homeschoolers, a lot of homeschoolers will use their entire house, to learn in. So learning can happen in the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, the bedrooms. It can happen out in the yard. It can happen in the park. It can happen in the library. It can happen at the grocery store. So you're not holding anyone back if you don't have a separate schoolroom to do school in. So just keep that in mind. So that's all that I have to share with you today. Again, next week I'm going to get into some more specifics about how to actually get started with relaxed homeschooling. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of my videos and haven't subscribed yet, I would love if you would do that. And have a great day.